Thanks, Premath. Happy Teachers Day to all of you. Thanks a lot. So, yes, the session will be recorded. So we'll wait for just 5 minutes, okay? And in the meantime, others will join and then we will start, okay? So I may be on mute. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone. So thanks a lot. And so it's a happy Teachers Day for all of us because we all are teachers in one way or the other. Okay, so people, so we are good to go. I think people have joined and we will wait for others to join in. Today, I have taken an RC, which I have never taken before, because when you take these kind of RCs in the initial stages of your prep, it is very demotivating, right? So just a moment, people, just a moment. Okay, so this is not, see people, you know, difficulty is a matter of perception. I have always been telling this. Something which appears to be easy may not turn out to be easy. Something that appears to be difficult may not turn out to be difficult, right? So I mean, what is difficult, what is not difficult, uh, is a matter of how you perceive things. Now, many people, they found that this passage, the one that you see here on the screen, was very tough. It was indeed tough. I wouldn't say that the passage was not tough, but somehow, as I always have been telling, that it is not necessary that just because the passage is tough, the questions can't be solved. So the idea is that whatever you can understand from the passage, you have to make the most of it. Whether I understand the passage 90%, 95%, 60%, 40%, that is not in my hands, because it all depends upon the subject matter. It all depends upon how well the passage is written. It all depends upon the writing style of the author. So what makes a passage difficult or tough is not my reading skills. Please understand this. That's the reason why I keep on telling people that don't bother yourself much about not being able to understand everything in the passage. So today I will take this passage first. I will read the passage for you, and after reading, I will show the questions, and we will see whether these questions were really difficult, are they really doable or not doable at all. All these things we will try to understand. Okay, and whatever we can learn from these lessons, we will take that as what we call as the benchmark, right? So let's go ahead, and I hope everyone is all set now. So we can start with the session, and let's take the first passage. I will start reading it for you. It says, free of the taint. It says, free of the taint of manufacture. ठीक है, एक मिनट, just a moment. Yeah. Now it's visible. Free of the taint of manufacture, that phrase in particular is heavily loaded with ideology of what the Victorian socialist William Morris called the anti-scrap, or an anti-capitalist conservationism that solaced itself with the vision of a pre-industrial golden age. In Britain, folk may, now till this point, I don't know what's going on. You know, nothing is clear. Everything is suspense, free of the taint of manufacture. That phrase in particular is heavily loaded with ideology of what the Victorian socialist William Morris called the anti-scrape or the anti-capitalist conservationism that solaced itself with the vision of pre-industrial golden age. I don't know what exactly it means, but it says it uses the word conservationism and then it says the pre-industrial golden age. Nothing is clear from this first sentence. I have the choice of leaving the passage and taking other passages, or I can say, theek hai yaar, matlab, since I have finished everything, so I have no other work but to complete this passage, right? So in the real-time examination, you would have either left this passage for later stages of the section, or you would have said, because I have finished everything, now I can do this passage. But when in Britain, folk may often appear a cozy fossilized form, but when you look more closely, the idea of folk who has the right to sing it, dance it, invoke it, collect it, belong to it, and has always been contested territory. So the author says that folk may appear in fossilized form, but it has always been a contested territory. Now I understand this sentence. It says something about folk, which is basically folk music or folk art. And the author says that people might feel that it is, what is fossilized, by the way? When something is fossilized, what do you mean by it? Because this word will help us capture the essence of this sentence. When you say that something is fossilized, uska matlab kya hota hai? Save to hai. It is preserved, but it is dead. Fossilized form का मतलब क्या है कि अभी भी है अपने पास, but dead हो चुका है वो. ठीक है? And then the author says it is still a contested territories. ठीक है? He wants to say something about folk music. Not much is clear. I can go ahead and read the next part. Correct? It says, in our own time, the word folk has achieved the rare distinction of occupying fashionable and unfashionable status simultaneously. So I understand this sentence. The word folk is both fashionable and non-fashionable, the author says. Just as the effusive floral prints of the radical William Morris now cover genteel sofas, so the revolutionary intentions of many folk historians and revivalists have led to music that is commonly regarded as parochial and conservative. So there is something called as folk revivalists, and these folk revivalists have created music which is considered to be conservative. So again, I get a feeling that the author is talking about folk music, and he says that folk is both fashionable and non-fashionable, and there is some kind of revival which people called as conservative. And yet, as newspaper columns periodically rejoice, folk is hip again. So it's not that folk is completely dead. It is hip again means it is again alive, correct? So, you know, people, whenever you read something, whatever you understand, that is more important than what you don't understand. Because मुझे क्या समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, it's not in my hands. Because if I start troubling myself with what I don't understand, then I'm going to be in big trouble. ठीक है? What comes next? It says here that that folk is hip again, influencing artists, clothing, and furniture. That means folk is again popular. Folk is a sonic shabby chic containing elements of the uncanny and eerie, as well as unique veneer, a whiff of Britain's heathen dark ages. So sonic shabby chic का मतलब कुछ तो modern है. This is what I understand. The very obscurity and anonymity of folk music's origins open up spaces for rampant imaginative fancies. Again, ठीक है, fanciful है. I don't know what exactly it is trying to say. Cecil Sharp, who wrote about this subject, believed that folk songs existed in constant transformation, a living example of an art form in perpetual state of renewal. So Cecil Sharp said that the folk is not dead, it is continuously getting renewed, correct? So this again, I understand. One man sings a song and then others sing it after him, changing what they do not like, is the most concise summary of his conclusions. That means Cecil has to say that folk is not dead, it is getting revived, it is getting changed and modified. He compared each rendition of a ballad to an acorn falling from an oak tree. Every subsequent iteration sows the song anew. मतलब folk बार-बार नया होते जा रहा है. Folk is becoming new all the time. But there is tension in newness. In the late 1960s, purists were suspicious of folk songs. So who is a purist? Purist is something who is pure-minded. So traditional, pure-minded is purist. They were suspicious of folk songs. Electrification, however, comes in many forms, not only in the form of folk, the author wants to say. For the early 20th century composers, such as Vaughan, Williams, and Holmes, there were thunderbolts of inspiration from Oriental mysticism, angular modernism, and the body blow of the First World War, as well as input from rediscovered folk tradition. So these people also rediscovered folk tradition. Now, what do you understand from this? Though lots of things I don't understand, what I understand is that the author keeps on telling that folk music is getting revived, it is getting changed, it is getting adapted. That is what exactly he wants to say. Okay, for the second wave of folk revivalists. So again, you have folk revivalists. So when you see the word revivalist, when you see the word recast in rock idioms, when you see the word, state of renewal, you get a feeling that the author seems to be talking about folk music or folk song getting revived and adapted. It says here, for the second wave of folk revivalists, such as whatever the name is, the vital spark of communism's dream of a post-revolutionary New Jerusalem. For their, again, मुझे समझ में नहीं आया ये, so don't worry, नहीं समझ में आया क्या problem? See, if you don't understand, leave it, go ahead. For their younger successors in the 60s who thronged the folk clubs, that means they set up by the old guard, the lyrical freedom of Dylan and unchanged melodies of psychedelia created the condition of folk rock's own golden age. So folk also has become rock, and there is a golden age which lasted from 69 to 71. That means again, folk is having some kind of adaptation. 4 decades on, even the progressive period has become just one more era ripe for fashionable emulation, and emulation of what? Of folk. The idea of folk tradition being exclusively confined to oral transmission has become a looser, less severely guarded concept. Recorded music and television for today's metropolitan generation are where the equivalent of folk memories are seeded. That means basically even today in the metropolitan generation, you see that there is folk memory alive. So can I say that I haven't understood much of the passage, but from what I have understood, I can confidently say that the author is talking about folk music and he wants to send a message that folk music is continuously adapted, it is renewed, it is not dead. Can I say this is what he wants to speak all about folk music? Yes or no? Please tell me. Have you understood the passage or not? सबको समझ में आ गया ना? So understand. See, if you ask me, sir, इसका मतलब क्या है? What is the meaning of the word psychedelia? Boss, I don't know what is the meaning of the word psychedelia. What is the meaning of post-revolutionary Jerusalem? I don't know what is the meaning of the word post-revolutionary Jerusalem. There are lots of things which even I don't know. But why should I care about it? I should care about understanding the broader picture. I should care about understanding the question and answering them. Correct. So there is no need for me to bother about what I haven't understood. Lots of things you will not understand, but unless and until they become a barrier in the question, we should not bother about it. Let's go and check the question now. So the first question says, again, the deadly combination that we had last year in CAT 2019. All of the following are causes for plurality and diversity within folk tradition, except. That means the option that you choose, if it is the cause of plurality, it will not be the answer, because the question is focusing on except, correct? So you also have to read the question very carefully. Whatever is the cause of plurality will not be the answer. Whatever is not the cause of plurality will become the answer. I hope you understand this. So tell me, which option do you think is not creating plurality? जो create कर रहा है वो बाहर जाएगा, right? So whichever is creating plurality will go out. The fluidity of folk forms owing to their history of oral mode. So can I say that the fluidity of folk forms, correct? It says here, the idea of folk tradition being exclusively confined to oral tradition has become much looser. So when something becomes looser, matlab not to lose the match. Looser means tight na hona. I hope you're getting this point. When something is not tight, it is loose. And when something is loose, it is fluid, it is adaptable. So can I say that the fluidity or the adaptability of the oral transmission has led to what we call as the diversification of folk? So can I say that this is the reason, therefore not the right answer? Are you getting my point? Yes or no? if this is the reason of the diversity, then this is not the right answer. And if it is fluid, and when something is fluid, understand this people, when something is fluid, that means it is basically adapting. If you are solid, then you can't adjust. If you are fluid, you can fit in any bottle. British folk forms can be traced to the remote past of the country. So if it can be, it can be traced to the, it says here, right, where, I mean, remote past of the country. So that is one of the reasons, because it has come from the remote past, it has been continuously adapted and adjusted by the succeeding generations. That is what he's saying throughout the passage. If you read the passage throughout, you'll find that the author is giving us plenty of evidence. Look at this. He says that, uh, you know, they have folk rock's own golden age. That means folk has adapted to rock. It has become fashionable emulation. So, you know, what we see here is that because, so I will just scroll down here. Okay. It says here that because it can be traced to the remote past of the country, which means it has old tradition, this can also be the reason why it is plural and diverse. British folk continues to have traces of pagan influence from the Dark Ages. Of course, this is also one of the reasons why it is so diverse. Again, if you're marking 3, you have to mark 2. Paradoxically, folk forms are both popular and unpopular. If they are popular and if they are unpopular, what has that to do with the diversity and the plurality? That is the question that I would like to ask you. If something is both popular and unpopular, will it lead to plurality and diversity? If something is see, pagan influence ka matlab kya hai? What do you mean by pagan influence? Suppose if I say that Hinduism has Christian influence in it, then can I say that Hinduism is a diverse religion? If I make a statement that Hinduism has Buddhism influence or Christian influence in it, then am I right to say that, that Hinduism is a diverse religion? Because you can find the influence of many other religions. So if British folk continues to have traces of pagan influence, that means pagan influence is going to make it more diverse. Pagan basically means non-Christian. It is mentioned वहां दिया हुआ है. It is are you getting my point? So if it is, if it is having pagan influence, that means basically there is diversity to it, as simple as that. And if British folks can be traced, if British folk forms can be traced to the remote past of the country. So now again, you have to go back and check the passage ki boss mujhe dikh ka raha hai. So if you say, Vishek says, but does popular and unpopular leads to plurality? See, something can be popular and something can be, see, if it is liked by one set of people, it is going to be popular. If it is disliked by one set of people, then it is going to be unpopular. But the fact that it is popular does not mean that it is having diversity in it. Being popular is not a guarantee of diversity. I hope you're able to create that relationship. I can create that relationship in 2 because it is having pagan influence. The British folk forms can be traced, not the adaptations or transformations. See, why should I bother about adaptations and transformations? I should talk about plurality and diversity, because the question wants me to answer that all of the following are causes of plurality. So I have to answer for the question. Plural and diversity basically means, theek hai yaar, it is, I mean, what do you mean by plurality and diversity? Of course, getting transformed, adapted, changed, modified, whatever the word. Of course, anything apart from being extinct. So the least logical of the choices is choice number 1, because I don't know how to justify the popularity and the unpopularity part with diversity. So if you ask me which is the most difficult for you to justify, I would say it is the popular and the unpopular part of the discussion. If you scroll up in the passage, it says here, right, that Britons, it says here, heathen ka matlab pata hai kya hota hai? Heathen means pagan. A whiff of Britain's heathen dark ages. See, in the Christian religion, whosoever is a non-Christian is called as a heathen. So when you compare the word heathen with the word pagan, the word heathen and pagan are the same thing. Pagan basically means before the advent of Christianity, the kind of religion that prevailed in UK and Europe was called as paganism, and the people were called heathens. So when the Britishers came to India, they used to call the natives of India as heathens. So this heathen is the word pagan. समझ में आ रहा है कि I hope you're getting this point. So even if you go by what you have understood from this, I don't see how popular unpopularity is going to make it क्या बोलते हैं, plural or diverse. I hope this is clear to everyone. So sometimes you have to use the best choice out of the given four. Which one do you think will add variety? If you can trace something remote past, it is definitely going to have a variety in it. Are you getting my point? See, something cannot be intact for 4,000 years as it is. There would definitely be some kind of mixture, some kind of adaptation, because the older the thing is, the more it is likely to get adapted. That is how you have to go ahead and mark the choices. Otherwise, kya hoga, people, you'll always end up leaving questions getting too confused. I have to get my job done. Clear with this, everyone? So not a difficult question. I doubt if it's a difficult question. You have to just check by how will this make something diverse. It's not going to make diverse. That's it. Which are the following statements about folk revivalism? Yes, pagan people don't know the word pagan. Pagan and heathen are the same thing. They mean the same thing. Which of the following statements about folk revivalism of the 1940s and 1960s cannot be inferred? Now, the folk revivalism cannot be inferred. The dates are given to you, 1940s and 1960s. One cannot be inferred. That means the others can be inferred. So this is going to be a time-consuming question. It reinforced Cecil Sharp's observation about folk's constant transformation. Can I say this is inferable or not? Because when I was reading the passage, I told you that Cecil Sharp is the one who believes that folk is adaptable. And if there is revivalism in folk in 40s and 60s, then can I say it is confirming Cecil Sharp's observation? Should I read the passage for that? You can go and read the passage, but even if you go and read the passage, you can only confirm what has already been given. Cecil Sharp, who wrote about this subject, believed that folk songs existed in constant transformation. Correct. And in the 40s, there was a vital spark of communism's dream. So how can folk become communist? That means communism as an idea reflected in the folk's transformation. For their younger successors in the 60s who thronged the folk club set up by the old guard, the lyrical freedom of Dylan and the unchained melodies of psychedelia created the condition of folk rock's own golden age. So that means in the 40s, there was the spark of communism in folk. In the 60s, there was what we call as the lyrical freedom of Dylan, which shows folk rock's own golden age. So in the 60s, you have the golden age, and in the 40s, you have the vital spark of communism. Yes, so what you can't infer becomes the right answer. So option D definitely can be inferred because it reinforced Cecil Sharp's observation. Reinforce means to confirm. And freedom and rebellion were popular themes during the second wave of folk revivalism. Where do you see that? In the 60s, there was freedom and rebellion. Dylan's, it says here, freedom, lyrical freedom of Dylan. Hai And it says here, the post-revolutionary New Jerusalem, and for their younger successors, that means the revolutionaries were there in the 40s, their successors came in the 60s. And if they are successors of revolutionaries, that means they also must have been revolutionaries in one way or the other. So can I say that both 3 and 4 can be inferred from the given sentences? Yes or no? Freedom and rebellion can be obtained from the successor's point, and Cecil's point of view is anyways reinforced. Even though it led to folk rock's golden age, it wasn't entirely free of criticism. Definitely it was being criticized. If you look at the subsequent sentences, right, it says here that the lyrical, यहाँ पे दिया हुआ है कहीं. It is said that they had its own critiques. It is given that it has its own critiques. यहाँ पे दिया हुआ है. In the 1960s, purists were suspicious of folk songs. So if purists were suspicious of folk songs in the 1960s, that means definitely there were critiques as well. Are you getting my point? So can I say that in the 60s, there were critiques? It was entirely not free of criticism. 60s का मतलब है कि ठीक है 67, 68, 69. So there must have been critiques. So what you get from this is that electrification of music would not have happened without the influence of rock music. This cannot be inferred. Why? Because electrification might have happened, and the author is giving this hint to us. He says here that it is given somewhere. The word electrification has come. Can anyone see? Electrification, however, comes in many forms, not necessarily in the form of rock. समझ में आ रहा है कि नहीं? So if electrification can come in many forms, then how can we say that without rock, electrification would not have happened? So if you read from these sentences, the place where you get the word 1960s and 1940s, you find that the electrification idea is the weakest idea which we cannot infer from anywhere in the passage, particularly these areas where you get to see the word 1960s, where you get to see the word 1940s, 60s, 69. So all this point covers everything except the point of electrification. So can I say that I can infer three choices, but the electrification part is difficult to infer, and therefore 1, 3, and 4 can be inferred, 2 cannot be inferred, yes or no? Everyone is clear about it? सबको समझ में आ रहा है? So I am also marking, but I am marking based on boss. I have stronger evidence for 1, 3, and 4, weaker evidence for 2. Even I am not very confident, but then I have to solve the question within 2 minutes. So I will not have 1 hour to go and proofread everything. So I have to pick all those small hints and use it to mark the right answer. Now, when you go to the third question, it says, the author says that folk may often appear cozy fossilized form. What do you mean by fossilized? And now you have to use the word fossilized to mark out of the 4 choices. It is purely a vocabulary question. Which one do you think? The author says that folk may appear a cozy fossilized form because. So fossilized form reminds you what? Of the past, correct? So when you see fossils of, let's say, an animal, so go and check where it has come, cozy fossilized form, right? You have to go and check where exactly the word has come. Where can we see the word cozy fossilized form? Yes. So this is where it is. So please go and check now and tell me. It says here that in Britain, folk may appear cozy fossilized form, but when you look more closely, the idea of folk has always been contested territory. So it says here that anti-capitalist conservationism that solaced itself with the vision of pre-industrial golden age. In Britain, folk may often appear a cozy fossilized form. That means basically something that appears to belong to the past. है ना? In Britain, folk may often appear a cozy fossilized form, but when you look more closely, it has always been a contested territory. So the author goes forward in this passage and goes on to say that, boss, you may find it in a cozy fossilized form, but if you look at it very closely, you will find that it is still relevant in modern times. So in other words, he wants to say that, boss, fossilized basically means belonging to the past. Anna, so which one do you think is the best choice? Of its nostalgic association with the pre-industrial past, of course, because if it belongs to the past, a past ho sakta hai pre-industrial ho ya past bahut remote ho, that's a different thing. But if it is fossilized, it is reminding you something from the past. Folk is a sonic shabby chick with an antique veneer. So is it shabby chick or is it nostalgic association with the pre-industrial past? Which one do you think is more convincing? Yes. बाकी दो तो बाकी सब निकल जाएगा. Why should you go to shabby chick, by the way? Why should you go to shabby chick? I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that what makes you go to shabby chick all the way down from. So when you go to the shabby chick word, you basically move your discussion from this to this point, है ना? So antique veneer means ऊपर ऊपर से पुराना है वो. Antique means what? Old. Veneer means, what do you mean by veneer? What is the meaning of the word veneer? Veneer means what? The outer layer of something. So for example, when you buy furniture, they polish the outer layer, outer surface, correct? So the outer surface of your wood is polished, and that is the veneer. So what do you do when you put a veneer? You put basically something superficially. So veneer is something of a cover, but fossil cannot be a cover of something. Fossil is basically deep within. So when you say that something is fossilized, and that means something is having an antique veneer, you are basically creating a contrast, because a veneer is always on the surface, whereas a fossil is something that is, fossil to pata hai na kya hota hai. I hope this makes it clear. So there are two problems. When you go to shabby chic with the veneer, you're not justifying the word fossil, first of all. I hope you're finding the right answer now. I will not go with antique veneer, because veneer itself means on the surface, superficially. Fossil has to be old, and that too very old. So it says here that folk is sonic shabby chic with antique veneer. That basically means ki it is young, but the outer cover is old. Superficial cover is old. Whereas of its nostalgic association with the pre-industrial past is what it says may often appear a cozy fossilized form. So people say that folk appears to many people like this, but it has been used in this way as well. So when you say that may often appear a cozy fossilized form, that means it appears as if it is very, very old. समझ में आया कि नहीं? Is this clear to everyone? See, this is the reality, the author says. ठीक है, folk is sonic shabby chic, मतलब उसको adapt कर लिया गया है. ठीक है, so this has nothing to do with the fossilized form, because for many it appears like this, for some it appears like this. The author says इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब तो यही होगा ना. So it's a pure word. Fossilized form means pre-industrial past, nostalgic, old, outdated. Even the word antique also is outdated. It means old. But the problem is, if it is antique and if it is nostalgic, if it is pre-industrial, then how are we going to choose the choices? फिर तो दोनों सही अच्छा लग रहा है ना, then I have to go deeper. And deeper means what? The word veneer shows that it is superficial. In reality, it is shabby chic. And that is where 2 becomes slightly weaker in comparison to 4. Take the 4th question now. The primary purpose of the reference to William Morris and his floral. This was one of the toughest questions for me, because it says the primary purpose of the Cozy का मतलब क्या होता है? Cozy means what is cozy? होता नहीं है. Cozy, what is? या सूदिंग है, कंफर्टेबल, सूदिंग. अब वो मॉडर्न भी हो सकता है, पुराना भी हो सकता है. I mean, we can't use the word cozy for modern and say it is not tension. I mean, cozy word is not reminding us of. Cozy is something which is not distracting or not offending. ठीक, unoffensive is cozy. Cozy job कैसा job होता है भाई? If you have a very cozy job, then what kind of job it is? Soothing, comfortable. It can be old, it can be new, it can be. So from the word cozy, we can't derive anything. समझ में आ रहा है? ऐसे होता. The problem people is you start deriving lots of things from what you know, and you ignore the bigger evidence and the more stronger evidence. Now look at this question. The primary purpose. This is also a difficult question, because in one go, even when I wrote the explanation for this on my website, I had written that I'm not very clear why this is the answer. But after long reading, I understood why the right answer is the right answer. Now let's go and check the primary purpose of the reference to William Morris and his floral prints. So William Morris and his floral prints, what is the reason behind it? Now go and check. It says here that, look at this. कहाँ गया William Morris word has come somewhere in the passage. It says here, just as the effusive floral prints of the radical William Morris. now cover genteel sofas. So the revolutionary intentions of folk historians and revivalists have led to music that is commonly regarded as parochial and conservative. Okay, so what do you think? Now, this is slightly a difficult question because it says just as the effusive floral prints of the radical William Morris now covers genteel sofas. What is genteel? Yes, people. इसका मतलब क्या होता है genteel sofa? When is something genteel? Genteel means polite, है ना? Respectable. So the ठीक है, just the effusive floral prints of radical William Morris now cover genteel sofas. That means basically it was considered as effusive, and now it is basically it is covering genteel sofas, means it is polite, it is not considered as offensive. So when you are genteel means you are refined, you're fashionable, you are modern in a way. So the revolutionary intentions of many folk historians have led to music that is commonly regarded as parochial and conservative. तो आगे का तो मुझे समझ में नहीं आया, but it has led to music that is regarded as, what is parochial and conservative? इसका मतलब क्या होता है? What do you mean by parochial and conservative? Can I say that conformist is equal to conservative? Can I put the word conformist is equal to conservative? Yes or no? What is meaning of the word conformist? Genteel means smooth. Gentle smooth होता है, but genteel means polite. So please don't confuse the word gentle with the word genteel. Gentle means smooth, but genteel means polite and respectable. Yes, radical and genteel are contrasting, because when something is radical, that means something is out of fashion. So what we understand from this is that the revivalists, so the floral prints have become polite and fashionable, and the revivalists' music has become conservative or conservative का मतलब क्या होता है? ऐसे conservative basically means conformist or not revolutionary. समझ में आया कि नहीं? Conservative is not revolutionary. Is it clear to everyone? But if your parents are conservative, then can I say that they are revolutionary? You might be revolutionary, but your parents are conservative. Understand this, correct? That means basically the music is becoming conservative and parochial. So let's go and check the options now. So I will scroll it down here and we will see which one is the best. Which one do you think is the best now? So what is the reason of comparison between William Morris and floral prints? So whatever the comparison is, क्या लग रहा है? Yes, people. Which one do you think is the right answer now? A tough question. That what is once regarded as radical in folk can now be seen as correct. Most of you have marked 3, which is the right answer. No. See, the reference to William Morris is that his floral prints have now become a kind of respected thing. Similarly, the music of the revivalists has become acceptable. The floral print has become acceptable. Similarly, the music of the revivalist has become acceptable. Acceptable basically means what? Revolutionary or conformist? I hope you're getting this point, people. So it has to be conformist. Clear to everyone? Yes or no? So this is not a tough question. Of course, it's difficult. I mean, on the day of the examination, it becomes difficult because of the vocabulary involved, but I hope you have understood it now. Clear to everyone? Okay, so I will again repeat it. William Morris effusive prints are now covering genteel sofas. Effusive का मत, see William Morris का जो floral print है, it is covering genteel sofas, means it has become acceptable. This is clear to everyone. William Morris's floral prints have become acceptable, because if it is revolutionary, then it is not genteel. ये clear हो गया सबको? Until this point, everyone is clear. So I can go ahead and tell you what is the meaning of the rest. And this is comparison. Just as you are good at mathematics, I am good at mathematics. So it is being compared. You are good, even I am good. Similarly, just as the floral print of Morris has become acceptable, similarly, the revolutionary intentions of the revivalists has also become acceptable. Samajh mein aaya ki nahi? Conservative basically means something that has been there since a long, long time. Not revolutionary is acceptable. Did you understand the meaning? So William Morris's floral print has become acceptable. Similarly, the music of the revolutionary intentions of many revivalists have led to music that is commonly regarded as conservative or parochial. मतलब what? Non-revolutionary. जब कोई चीज कंजर्वेटिव होती है, when something is conservative, it is not revolutionary, it is conformist. So if I have to go down, I have to pick only one choice, which is close to what is given in the passage. That what was regarded as radical once upon a time has now become what? Conformist. I hope this is what it means. Absolutely, the relationship is coming the way it has come. Okay? Take the last question from this passage, and then you will see life has become a little easy now. At a conference on folk forms, the author of the passage is parochial means old-fashioned, narrow. Parochial basically means old-fashioned. See, old-fashioned, narrow-minded, whatever you can put it. Genteel means refined, hai na? So the author says that what was considered as revolutionary once upon a time, or was radical, has now become what? Conformist. So the kind of revivalist music people believed that it was radical. Radical means revolutionary, but now it is believed to be what the word has been used, conservative or parochial, means what? Not revolutionary. So I have to use the word conformist because conformist, the word conformist and the word conservative are basically synonyms. If the author goes to a conference on folk forms, the author of the passage is least likely to agree with which of the following? What do you think is the answer? Which option he would not agree with? I will share this in the group. It came in CAT 2019. Which one is the author not going to agree with? Now you have done the passage completely. Can you mark the answer without reading the passage? Yes, people, can you mark the answer without reading the passage? And you can definitely mark. It is an easy question, provided you have understood the options carefully. The plurality and democratizing impulse of folk forms emanate from the improvisation. Definitely, the author has said that folk has adapted to rock, the folk has adapted to metropolitan music. So can I say that the folk music is having its ability to improvise? So 4 definitely it will be agreed by the author. है ना? Folk forms in their ability to constantly adapt to the changing world exhibit unusual homogeneity. What is homogeneous? What is the meaning of homogeneous? Homogeneous, similar. Can I say folk is having similarity or is it having diversity? Heterogeneous is equal to diversity. Heterogeneous is equal to diversity and homogeneous is equal to similarity. The focus of the passage is diversity or homogeneity? Please tell me. The focus of the passage is homogeneity or diversity? So if diversity is the focus of the passage, then how can the author agree with 3? After every change, if it is still homogeneous, that means the point of diversity is being questioned by the author. Folk forms, despite their archaic origins, remain intellectually relevant. So it is again showing that it is diverse. It remains relevant in contemporary times, basically means despite its archaic origins, it is relevant. So author ne nahi kaha na ki it is not relevant. See, the author is not making the point only of diversity. Diversity is one of the points. He is saying that the William Morris example diya na author ne. Author says that the way William Morris's floral prints have now become quite common. Similarly, even in folk music also, you have the music which is correct. So the word homogeneity is wrong. So what do you think? Option 3 is something that the author would not agree with, because all the other choices is the author agreeing with. The power of folk resides in his contradictory ability to influence and be influenced. That is the reason why it is adapting. It is still relevant in modern times. Precisely, that is, of course, it is being discussed everywhere in the passage that it is still being relevant. People are using it. And fourth one says that it is improvised upon. So this is also relevant. But if there is unusual homogeneity and unusual poise, now you might say it's a very, very positive idea about folk music. समझ में आया कि did you understand why 3 is something that the author is not going to agree with? Homogeneity is not connected with change. Heterogeneity is connected with change. Homogeneity is connected with similarity. Homogeneous mixture पढ़ा होगा ना science में. What is homogeneous mixture? Homosexual, heterosexual. So when you are a homosexual, then you tend to be attracted to people of your own kind. So if folk is homogeneous, that means the adaptation and the improvisation factor is being questioned. So out of all the 4 choices, the author will not agree with 3. He will agree with all the rest. When you are marking the answer, what you do is you look at the option in isolation. But my friend, you have to also look at what is wrong with 1, what is wrong with 2, what is wrong with 4. I don't see anything being wrong with 1, 2, and 4. 1 talks about getting influenced. 4 talks about getting adapted. And it says that it is relevant in contemporary times. So on all the 1, 2, and 4, I feel that the author will definitely agree, because this is precisely what the author is talking about in the passage. But when it comes to 3, I feel that the author is not discussing this. In fact, to mention 3 means to say that folk music stands out. I hope you have understood this now. It's a difficult passage, but the problem is many people wanted me to discuss CAT 2019 passage. I said that CAT 2019 passage means you have to be ready for this kind of, see, the more you reason and the more we discuss, the better we become. Clear to everyone? And now you will find, okay, and now you will find that life really becomes very easy when you see an easier question. So I will just scroll down and you see how things change all of a sudden. Okay. Now you have taken one passage which was really very, very difficult. Now we will take one more passage which is exactly the opposite. And this feeling that yes, I am able to understand, I'm able to solve this must come very quickly in the exam. The more the time you take to assess the difficulty, the slower you become. So you should be able to assess the difficulty of the question in a very quick amount of time. I mean, very quickly. Because if you take 5 to 8 minutes to simply say कि हाँ ये difficult है, by the time you realize you have lost 5 to 8 minutes. That is the reason why many of you are not able to attempt many questions. And as a result, your cutoff is, your scores are always on the lower side. So when you practice, you have to also use your instinct and intuition. And the more you practice, hopefully the better you become. Okay. More and more companies, government agencies, educational institutions, and philanthropic organizations are today in the grip of a new phenomenon. What is that phenomenon? Metric fixation. The key components of metric fixation are the belief that it is possible and desirable to replace professional judgment with numerical indicators of comparative performance based upon what? Standardized metrics. And the best way to motivate people with these organizations is by attaching rewards and penalties to their measured performance. So what do you get from this? Now, if you compare this first paragraph and if you compare the paragraph of the previous passage, you will tell me, sir, the previous passage was really very difficult. So the difficulty could be assessed from the very first paragraph. So my suggestion is that when you have something difficult to understand, you just keep it for the last. Don't take it at the start, so that you don't disturb yourself right at the start of the paper. समझ में आ रहा है कि नहीं? The rewards can be monetary in the form of pay or performance. So here the author talks about metric fixation. He says that more and more companies are obsessed with metric. Why? Because there are awards being attached to metrics and all these things, correct? And then he further says that rewards can be monetary in the form of pay or performance. It can be in the form of rankings, but the most dramatic negative effect of metric fixation is its propensity to incentivize gaming. That is, encouraging professionals to maximize the metrics in ways that are at odds with the larger purpose of the organization. So the author talks about metric fixation, sorry, not performance. And then he talks about what exactly it means. And then he says that the most negative aspect of metric is that it encourages, it incentivizes gaming. And what is gaming? A kind of thing that means it says that encouraging professionals to maximize the metrics in ways that are at odds with the larger purpose of the organization. If the rate of major crimes in a district become the metric according to which police officers are promoted, then some officers will respond by simply not recording crimes or downgrading them from major offenses or misdemeanors. Or take the case of surgeons. When the metrics of success and failure are made public, affecting their reputation, some surgeons will improve their metric scores by refusing to operate on patients, correct? Who suffers? The patients. What is the purpose of these two examples? Can you please tell me? Why is the author discussing the example of the surgeon and the example of the police officer? He's trying to discuss this because he wants to point at the drawback of too much of metric fixation and how people start gaming with things. Correct. So the gaming example has come here. You basically focus on all the means and methods by which you can improve your metric, and the bigger and the larger goal is missed as per the author. When reward is tied to measured performance, metric fixation invite this sort of gaming. ऊपर भी उसने example दिया है. But metric fixation also leads to a variety of more subtle unintended negative consequences. So one thing is very clear, that from this paragraph until this point, the author seems to be a critique of metric fixation. And he says that they all have the negativity. These include goal displacement, which comes in many varieties when performance is judged by a few measures and the stakes are high. People focus on satisfying those measures, often at the expense of other more important organizational goals. So the more important organizational goals are missed and the focus is only on the metrics. The best known example is teaching to the test, a widespread phenomenon that has distorted primary and secondary. So this teaching to the test is an example of a case in which the metric fixation shifted the goals of the organization, correct? Short-termism is another negative, the author says. He says that measured performance encourages what the US sociologist called the imperious immediacy of interest, where the actor's paramount concern will be immediate consequences excludes consideration of further other consequences. मतलब कि number लाना है भले मुझे concept clear हो ना हो. So the focus is to score as many marks as possible in the examination without understanding or without any kind of conceptual clarity. That is what the author says, that the whole focus becomes on getting marks. In short, advancing short-term goals at the expense of long-term considerations. And he goes and then towards the end, he says, to the debit side of the larger ledger must also be added the transactional cost of metrics, the expenditure of employee time by those tasked with compiling and processing the metrics. So there is a cost factor as well. So when I read the passage, if you compare this passage with the earlier passage, it's a classic example where the author is repeating the same idea and is giving different arguments for the same idea. Correct. So the passage is not at all difficult. The earlier passage was difficult in language. The second passage was easy in terms of language. Correct. And that's why you are more comfortable with this passage than with the earlier passage. The chances are that you will get more questions correct in this passage than you got in the earlier passage. That's the reason why, while solving the mocks, the passage selection plays a very, very important role. Because if you have selected the right kind of passage, the chances are, I don't say that it is guaranteed, but the chances are that you might do well. Okay? So always go by what you like. I don't say that what you like will always turn out to be the best, but then that definitely, can be the best way to start. What is the main point the author is trying to convey through the examples of police officer and surgeon? The example of police officer and surgeon has come as an example of what? That people start gaming, and gaming basically means getting into those kind of practices which are not good for the organization. So what exactly is the purpose of those two examples? Can you tell me what is the reason? Now you have read all that. It may encourage unethical behavior among some professionals. This could be one of the answers. The other could be critical public roles should not be evaluated on metrics based performance. Fourth also could be one choice. Which one do you think is better? 2 or 4? Please tell me, which one appeals to you? Is it only about critical public roles? Please tell me. Is it only about critical public roles and not about the rest? It is not necessarily only about critical public roles. That means you mean to say that only doctors and police officers and professors should not be evaluated on the basis of metric. The others should be evaluated. So when you mark 4, you are restricting your argument only to critical public roles. But the author's argument is not about critical public roles. It goes beyond critical public roles. And therefore, metric linked awards may encourage unethical behavior is the right choice. I hope this is clear to everyone. It paints the broader picture, whereas 4th only focuses on critical public roles. Okay, so 2 is definitely better than 4. A slightly tough question, but I think you could have managed it. Which of the following is not a consequence of metric fixation? All the consequences which are negative is a consequence, and the one that is not negative is not a consequence. I hope you have understood the question, because many a time kya hota hai na ki we don't even understand the question. Not a consequence basically means not a result of. So all the negativities are a result, and the one that is not negative is not the result. Deviating from important objectives, definitely it is negative consequence. Finding a way to show better results without actually improving performance, yes, it is a negative consequence. Short-termism, the author has clearly said that short-termism is also a negative consequence. Improving cooperation, this positive consequence shows that it is not a consequence of metric fixation, and therefore this question can be solved within 40-50 seconds and can be easily. So if there is a question which takes 3 minutes, there will definitely be a question which takes 1 minute. So don't go for time taken per question. Look at the average time that you have taken. Okay, easy question, I would say. Which of the following would have added least depth to the author argument? This is one of the most difficult questions I have come across. It's really a very, very interesting question, and lots of people have given wrong explanation to this question. The question is really beautiful. Adding least depth का मतलब क्या होता है? What do you mean by adding least depth? Yes, people. What is the meaning of the word adding least depth? Not of much help. मतलब depth तो add नहीं करेगा, बाकी करे ना करे, but definitely it is not going to add much value. ठीक है, least depth means not going to add much value, less important, correct? Good. So that means basically when you say least depth, that doesn't mean necessarily you have to weaken. See, weaken also means adding least depth. At the same time, it also means adding no value. So there could be many, many meanings of the word least depth. The word least depth can mean many things. Okay. Now look at the options. Suppose if you are participating in a group discussion, please listen to this argument. Huh? Suppose if you go to a B school and you are participating in a group discussion, I gave few points at the start, and if you repeat my points towards the end of the discussion, are you adding depth or not? So if you repeat the points towards the end, you're not adding any depth. Why? Why aren't you adding any depth if you repeat my points towards the end? Because you are giving what is already known to others, correct? Nothing new, correct? You are giving what is already known to others, so there is nothing new. Now, you look at this, more real life illustrations. How many illustrations do we have? How many illustrations do we have? We have the illustration of school, we have the illustration of police officer, we have the illustration of doctor. If you add 5 more, does it make any sense? You can add 20 more, you can add 100 more. Does it make any sense? 3 is as good as 10. 3 is as good as 30. So 2 examples are as good as 20 examples, correct? So if the author is giving more real life illustrations, will it really add depth? So आप बोलोगे, sir, it may add depth, it may not, it may not add depth. Look at the other options. Assessment of the pros and the cons of a professional judgment based evaluation system. See, understand this. The author says that metric is not good. You have to replace metric with what? Professional judgment based evaluation system. So if the author gives me the pros and the cons of professional judgment based evaluation system, then definitely he's helping me understand the comparison better. So can I say this is adding value? Yes or no? Can I say 4 is adding value? It is adding value. In the complete passage, you say that metric is not good. I would ask you then what is good? So you will say, sir, professional based judgment is better. How it is better? So if you give me that, you are adding depth. A comparative study of metrics and non-metrics, adding depth. Analysis of the reasons why metric fixation is becoming popular despite its drawback, adding depth. 1, ठीक है? 1, 3, and 4 are not at all discussed in the passage. And when something is not discussed, and if you add, you are adding depth. But if something which is already discussed, if you add that, you're not adding depth. And therefore, this is the right choice. समझ में आया कि नहीं? It's such a beautiful question. It can be only understood in retrospect. It's a real good question. I sometimes say that CAT, no, none of the mocks. Yes, new things we do not know, and therefore knowing them will add depth to the overall understanding of the thing. After all, you are arguing, right? So GD, why did I give the GD example, the group discussion example? Good. All of the following can be a possible feature of No Child Left Behind. The author has criticized this, correct? Yes or no? Has the author criticized this? Why has the author criticized this? Why has the author criticized this? Let's go up and check. The author has criticized this because it is an example of what? Metric fixation. You are focused on satisfying the metric measures and you ignore the learning, correct? So the metric is the hallmark of this particular thing. Everything must have been based on metric. That is the reason the author is criticizing it. So the question says, all of the following can be a possible feature. That means everything that is based on metric can be a possible feature. That is the reason why the author is criticizing. The one that is not a metric based thing cannot be a feature. So the except thing has to be non-metric. Are you getting this? Can I say that the except thing has to be non-metric stuff? Yes or no? Please tell me. It has to be non-metric stuff, correct? So if the metric has, if the except thing has to be non-metric stuff, which is that non-metric stuff? Bilkul. Answer number 4 is the right answer. Why? Because school funding is based on improvement shown in tests, based on metric. The focus is more on test taking skills. That means you are focusing on scoring marks. Standardized test scores, again, you are focusing on marks. So focusing on metric, not focusing on metric, and therefore accept. Why? Because the author is criticizing it. That means it must have been criticized because of these reasons, these possible reasons. Everyone is clear about it. Can I say it's an easy question? Odd one out se banta hai yaar. Kya matlab? Not all the except questions are tough. Don't look at word except and say, boss, it's going to be a difficult nut. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. The question type does not decide the difficulty. It is the option that decides the difficulty. Clear, everyone? So now we have the last question. Many people have lost patience. What is the main idea? Such a simple question. What is the main idea? Please tell me now. I have spoken enough. What is the main idea? Yes, to show drawbacks of metric-based performance. 4 is the answer. Easy. Straight away 4 is the answer. Evaluating performance by using measurable performance may misguide organizational achievement. लोगों ने बोला 2 क्यों नहीं है? The word metric has not even been used in option 2. Long-term organizational goals should not be ignored. That's a very, very good idea. But what about the metric? Metric word ही नहीं आया, आंसर मार्क कर दिया फटाफट. You know what I have told you in my lessons, in the video lessons, that whenever you look at the main idea, it has to capture that key noun. You're talking about, are you getting my point? You're talking about something, but what is that something? That something is metric fixation. You should focus on of course, the keyword. The keyword has to be a part of the main idea. It is very important. Okay? The keyword has to be a part of the main idea. Not the keyword may not come verbatim. Okay? Poor quality of life also means, let's say struggling life. So a life full of struggle and poor quality is the same thing almost. So sometimes the author may not use the word metric. He has used the word measurable performance. So measurable performance metrics is equal to metric fixation. But here, long-term organizational goals vis-a-vis short-term goals have been discussed independently without any kind of relationship with the metric fixation. So when you compare 2 with 4, you will realize 4 is better. In isolation, 2 looks like a good choice. In isolation, if I remove option 4, and agar main nikal do option 4, most of you would say sir 2 is the right answer. Correct? Yes or no? If I remove option 4, then most of you would say sir 2 is the right choice. Correct? It is the options that makes things difficult. So the point I'm trying to make is that if you don't read the options carefully, if you misread the options, if you misread the question, the chances of your getting wrong is very high. Vis-a-vis, if you have understood the question, if you have understood the options, even if your understanding of the passage is not very good, still you can get the question correct. So if you ask me, sir, what should be my focus area? You have to understand the question. You have to understand the options. This is very important. Bina question, bina option ke to kuch nahi hoga. The passage you may not understand completely, that's fine. You can manage still. But if the question understanding is incomplete, if the option understanding is incomplete, you will definitely go wrong. Are you getting my point? So this has to be very clear. This may not be completely clear because ठीक है नहीं आया समझ में लेकिन ऑप्शन यूज करके मार्क कर दिया आंसर मैंने. Clear to everyone? So this is what we call a strategy. Strategy का मतलब यही होता है people. Try to maximize your score. And that is only possible if you learn to leave questions. See, I have just given you reasons. If you ask me, sir, what should I have done in the exam? I would have told you, boss, in the exam, you should have left questions which you don't understand. So the second RC, I could understand. I solved, I got 4 out of 5 correct. The first, I could not understand very much. I left it. I should be unnecessarily struggle. It's a very, very tough passage. And people have not given good answers to these questions. Even in the online world, if you look for the proper explanation, there are very, very poor explanations given for these kind of questions. But then when you do these kind of questions, you realize that what is difficult gives me trouble and what is not difficult may not give me that much trouble. So if I'm having less trouble with the particular question, that means I'm likely to solve that question. Clear with this, everyone? Okay. So that's it for the day. And I will keep on taking these kind of RC questions. Yes. I will upload it. I will upload in the course. I will also distribute it. Okay. I hope you all enjoyed the session, and you have learned something. You have taken back home something. Implement this. Implement. Attending the session and listening to me is not enough. You have to implement. You have to start working on it. Great. Okay. So thanks a lot, everyone, and I will circulate the recording of this.